Good afternoon. Welcome once again to Blakey's Bootroom here on Wales Online. Nathan and Steve in the studio to begin yet another Cardiff City inquest after the latest on-field debacle this weekend.
When's the positive show? When are we doing it? That's next week. All right, okay, I look forward to that.
Today we've got positive things.
We have good.
Positive
Good.
vibes.
So it was pretty depressing last week, and since then we've had the defeat on the weekend to Wigan out of the FA Cup.
But the FA Cup don't matter, does it, you two?
Well, you know, I mean, I've always said building momentum and all that, and all that, kind of building confidence. We did have the draw against Villa, by the way.
Of course, we had the Villa
Sandwiched
game before
in
that. I
there,
mean, we'll sum up where we are then from what you've seen. I mean, we have to really start with that Wigan game, the most recent. It wasn't pretty. Lots of people very concerned about a real lack of clarity in terms of selection, tactics. What are they doing?
Let me say something, people. One thing, which is probably, I think, probably the biggest thing, and we're in short supply of it, is time. We haven't got time to, if you like, experiment on the job, but the manager's almost being forced to, because he's putting out, like, when I said in my column, I don't quite know what he's trying to do, yeah? And that's not like you don't know what you're doing, yeah, because he obviously does know what he's doing. But don't know whether he's thinking to himself, we'll give it a go, but I'm building for next year. I don't know whether he's thinking to himself, I'm still trying to find my best 11. I don't know whether he's thinking to himself, well, you know, I really and truly believe in this, but the players are not really coming along with me, because at the end of the day, you know, whether you're a new manager, old manager, if the players don't believe in what you're trying to achieve, you're going to have a problem. You know, and players, you know, they'll all say, oh yeah, I wouldn't feign injury and all that. But trust me, I've been at clubs where, you know, players, in my opinion, could have played. You know, I think that's part of the reason why my career was ended at 32, 33, because I played too many times with injuries when I wasn't nowhere near fit. You know, I remember playing at Fulham for Blackburn, running with a limp, because, you know, I had such a problem with my tib and fibia, and I ended up having an operation on my tib fib and my Achilles at the same time. So there's players who'll play through that pain barrier and players who won't, but what you don't want to do is lose that. And while you're experimenting, you'll have pockets saying, manager, you know, I preferred the old manager, and then you'll have other people saying, oh, he don't know what he's doing, or, you know, you make one mistake as a manager, as a new manager, bang, you might lose one or two of the players. And if they're main players, you're going to have a problem. So at the moment, the whole thing is just, do you know what I mean? It's just up in the air. There's no clarity, no continuity, no consistency in the team, in the selection. Even if you're playing and picking a team and the team's playing well, and you're losing, you say, okay, well, probably going to get worse.
We're going down the right route, you would imagine.
We're going down the right way, because you can see a performance.
An improvement, yeah.
But at the moment, I think what's happening is we're caught between a rock and a hard place, or the manager is. He doesn't know whether to just say, right, bang, this is my 11, and I'm going to stick with it, win, lose, or draw. Or this is my 15, and I'm going to stick with it, win, lose, or draw. Or, right, I pull him out and put him in, try that one. Right, that's not quite work. I pull him out and try that one. Right, that's not quite work. Because what then happens is the fans then go, if you keep swapping it, oh, there's no consistency, like I'm saying. If you don't change it and someone has a bit of a stinker, why haven't you draw? You know, he doesn't deserve his place.
What do you want, though, Steve? Is
we're really in. I've seen it before. I've experienced it before. You're in just a spiral, mate, at the moment. Something's got to happen. Something's got to grab a hold somewhere and say, right, this is it.
You want signs of progress, though, don't you? Even if you are experimenting, you are forced to do that, and there isn't that.
I totally agree with Blakey on this, is that you look at the Cardiff side, I say side, you say sides that have been going out there, they look disjointed, it's like you said in your column, I thought it was bang on. There's like 3 sides in there, this group of people here, people brought in by Malky, there's no unity within the whole thing. The biggest disappointment, and one of the biggest problems, has been another thing you pointed out as well, Blakey. There's been no bounce from the change of manager. You know, like Palace got under Pulis, like Sunderland got under Poyd. There was no honeymoon period at all for Solskjaer. Yeah. The results and the performances have all been questionable, have all been a problem. You know, obviously there was the points against Norwich, but there hasn't been any upsurge in the taking of points. And I feel, funnily enough, that the timing of his arrival was against him, in the sense of the start of the January transfer window. You know, if he came in now and was like, "This is what I've got,
I've got to work with it.
Here we go. I've got to do this. I'm going to do." Yeah. He brought all these guys in. Other ones went out the door. There was all the kerfuffle about all that.
Players ain't happy when they're being left out.
Exactly. He's not only having to get to know the ones he's inherited. Yeah. He's got these new guys that he's somehow trying to slot on,
and don't upset the people who are already there. And you know,
and at the same time pick up points. Yeah, it's too much.
If you could almost tick a box of what not to do during the season. We've probably done them all.
We said that. We were talking about this yesterday, and it's almost like if you sat down at the start of your Premier League season, which is going to be rock hard anyway, let's do a series of things to make it even harder for ourselves. You do what the Cardiff.
I don't get. Like I said last season, we've said it last season on the show, and we'll say it this season. There's no divine right to stay in the Premier League, and you'll probably go down and come back up. You'll probably have to yo-yo a couple of times before you become this consistent Premier League established club, because it's, you know, we're looking, and I think almost out to our detriment, we look at Swansea and go, well, they done it, so we got to do it. You've got to almost just like close the curtains on that and say, well, they've been fortunate, they've done it their way,
and that's the trend in many ways.
For real. So we're just in a situation where we're probably going to have to go down, come back. The pressure will come for Ole. For me, is next season. I ain't giving up on this season. People go, oh, you know, we got 12 games to go. What I'm saying is, if you're realistic and look at how we're playing against the teams we got to play against, we're in trouble. Massive trouble.
What will have disappointed me if we do go down is not, in a way, is not that we've gone down, because at the start of the season they were favourites to go down.
As a club.
We shot ourselves in the foot. Not only was everyone else trying to get us down, our opponents, obviously, as they were, we conspired with them to sabotage ourselves. And that's what will leave me unhappy at the end of the campaign. Not that they've gone down, not at the players, not at Ole, but just what we did, the wounds we inflicted on ourselves.
Because it's to be expected to a degree for, you know, for most clubs. You go to the Premier League, chances are, as a new club, first time ever, you're probably going to go down, you know. And don't be, you know, people say, oh yeah, but we spent 30 million quid. Yeah, but we had a championship, and not a great championship. Yeah, we won the championship, but we weren't great at winning it. We didn't break any records, rip up any trees. We were just a solid, good team. You know, a couple of individual special performances from time to time got us through. We weren't like this team who people were going, whoa, when they get in the Premier League, they're going to go some. Do you know what I mean? So to go up and down, to me, was probably more expected than to stay in the Premier League. I wasn't expecting us to stay in the Premier League. I've always said, you know, it's ruined more than it's made. That's my biggest worry, is the long-term effect of it. But I was expecting us to go up and come back down. Just because you've got to, people got this notion that you've got to, oh, but Vincent Tan's a billionaire. So what? Doesn't mean you automatically, because you spend 30, 40 million quid, you're going to stay in the Premier League or win the Premier League. You know what I mean? So this, at the moment, we're going through a period which we're probably going to have to wait until March, April before we see things settling down, for me anyway, I think.
All right, let me have
lots
of comments. Let me reel plenty off. Carl says, Blakey hit the nail on the head in his column today. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has Malky's players and they're not used to playing the style he wants. There's too many square pegs going into round holes. If we stay up, it will be more luck than judgment. Barry Boy says, can't see where the goals are going to come from. Our team looks knackered, just like they have come this time. Not quite sure what that says. Frankie Bluebird,
just like they do this time at every season.
We must keep supporting the team and the manager, whatever happens.
Yeah.
We're all still Bluebirds.
Yes.
Everyone would agree with that. Mike in Devon saying shape, organisation and tactics have been discussed in the past. What does Blakey think of the way we shaped up for the free kick when Watson scored on Saturday? Maybe we'll come on to that.
2 in a row. I didn't get that.
That didn't even curl, that ball.
No, it was old-fashioned.
There's no way you should just be hammering that straight in.
It was like you got one of the best keepers in the league, and he was diving, still diving 5 minutes after the ball was ripping in the net.
That was a very disappointing goal.
Yeah, indeed. Wayne says, I don't think Ollie knows what he is doing. Interesting one there. Dennis, Ollie's lost 5 games in a row. He says he lost 5 games in a row when he started as manager of Mould, which I think is actually true, and he obviously went on to have great success there, so a reason to perhaps...
I tell you what, he's not going to go on and win the title this
perhaps
year,
be positive there. Cardiff City, the club is currently disjointed from head
See,
to
the
toe.
fans are not... I always say, you can't mug the fans, mate. You know what I mean? You might get 1 or 2 who stand and just shout nonsense. But you know,
that was me when I was...
Yeah, well, if Tucker's not there, you only got 1, right? But just by the comments there, you can just see it's like a glowing light, isn't it? You know, these fans, they pay their money, they've been going for years. Some been going since they were 4 or 5. They play football, their kids play football, they understand football, they know what a good football team is, what a bad one is, because as Cardiff City fans, we've seen plenty of good and bad. Do you know what I mean? So you can't, and that's for me the biggest thing. No matter what you say, you cannot mug fans off. They're fickle.
The vibe
but you can't mug them off, mate.
I tell you what, I don't know if you agree. The vibe is not right to me.
It's a funny atmosphere on Saturday anyway.
There's not a feeling of what do you need now? You need unity, everyone pulling together. For various factors, that's not there for me. People are unsure.
My biggest
from
fear,
the fans to the players to the staff.
My biggest fear isn't relegation. It really isn't. My biggest fear is long term. The club long term.
Yeah.
We won't go into it in depth, but that is my biggest fear. Yeah, like I've always said, the Premier League has ruined more than it's made, ruined as many as it's made, at least.
Nobody worried about going up, coming down, yo-yoing as lots of people have done. But sometimes with Cardiff, and for various factors that people know about off the pitch, you do sometimes wonder what the reaction might be there if they do go down.
Well, Vincent Tan doesn't want to be in the Championship, does he?
No.
Absolutely no.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, Alex just saying, cannot work out what Ollie's trying to do in with the team. I don't understand why the defence is changed consistently. How can the back four learn to gel together and work for each other?
When it's just obvious.
They're a different back four every time. Stability at the back is crucial. Obviously, Juan Carlo, we had his debut on the weekend. What did you make of him?
He was okay. I was disappointed with his header, to be honest with you. I can't sit here and say, like, you know, sing praises of people. I thought he should have been braver. And
it was at the end of the second half, wasn't it?
End of the first half. End of the second half, the game's over.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what they call the end of the game, right? If I'm not mistaken.
All
right, Mr. Clever Clogs. Don't go with end of the first half.
End of the first half. For me, like I said to Tux yesterday, if that's like Ben Turner, Jason Petty, that's a goal. It is, because they're, and not just them players, most players, as a centre forward then, you look at it last second, you close your eyes because you've got the ball line, you've got the goal line, you know the judgment, you close your eyes and you're actually waiting for the collision, whether that's head to head or fist to the keeper. You're probably you just brace yourself, but you listen for the roar when your eyes are closed.
But you make sure that
ball goes in, no matter what.
Yeah.
You torpedo yourself at it and take whatever comes.
But apart from that,
I'm not going to cane him on his whole performance just on that. What I'm saying is, he looked decent. He did look decent strength. He looked like he could plaster the ball.
Did he look a seismic step up from Ben Turner? To me, no. And why?
He looked better
we haven't
on
spoken
the ball.
A little bit better. Well, most people look better on the ball, but we haven't spoken about Villa very much. Ben Turner against Villa. brilliant
Superb,
performance.
yeah.
You know, I mean, his best performance in the Premier League probably. Epic showing.
I would say whenever he's come into question, Ben, whenever people have questioned him, myself included,
he's always reacted.
Stepped up. These next game, he's
and people are talking about stability. For goodness sake, right? Okay, if Wankala and Kolka are it, right, play them. You know,
don't change it again.
Yeah, but if you're going to go with Turner and Kolka, then do that.
Yeah.
For goodness sake, make your mind up, you know. Just put them in. I don't see like, I see a cigarette papers between a lot of these guys. I don't sit there and go, my goodness, thank goodness.
Well, you're not going to get a world class.
No, you're not going to get.
You're not going to get, a player. You're not going to get a real Ferdinand for like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes.
They're all there because they got good aspects of their game. They got bad aspects of the game. But to follow the theme of what this whole show is going to be about, I think, for goodness sake, make some decisions and stick with them, and get a bit of siege mentality going in there in the dressing room. People saying, "Come on, let's get out there and do that." You can't do that with so and so's out, so and so's back. All right, there's injuries and that's going to happen, but you get the injured guys in there.
As a player watching Saturday, there was a couple of times where I could see like where there was disharmony player to player. I could see. I was sat with my kid and his little mate, and a few other friends of mine and their kids. And, I was sat in fourth tier, so I couldn't hear, but I could tell when players were talking to one another. I've been there, done that. Yeah, I could see what that means, and I could see like he's not happy with him, and he's not happy with him. So there was, from the manager tomorrow, I sit and I watch that game on Sunday, and today I pull everyone in and say, I just tell them straight. Either we come together now, go forward and give it a go. Gloves are off, let's give it a go. Or we yield, we fall, we die, we just go down. We just say, okay, let's play out the last 12 games. And then I'll get rid of who I want to get rid of, bring in who I want to bring, and then pre-season, boom, we start afresh. But at the moment, for me as well, this ain't just a managerial thing, it's players, some players gotta,
We spoke
if
about
I'm in the dressing room, I'm saying, well, as a senior, remember the Dave Jones, and as a senior, I'll say honestly, under Dave Jones, what Dave Jones done well was sign senior players who took responsibility. And at Wolves, we had 6 or 7 of us who basically got us promoted. I would say 90% players, 10% management. And I wouldn't give that sort of credibility to any of the team I played for. Played for Bolton, it wasn't 90% players, 10%. It was probably 80% management, 20% players. Yeah, but it's different at different clubs. But what we did at Wolves was there was players like myself, Paul Ince, Dennis Irwin, Paul Butler, who would say, right, we're not having it.
That's what Cardiff need.
You sit down and you
symptomatic for me.
You have it in the dressing room. I remember Paul Butler.
21-year-old.
I remember Paul Butler actually, throwing Kenny Miller around down at Swansea, and we beat them 1-0 in the FA Cup or League Cup. We beat them 1-0, and I remember at half time or after the game, Paul Butler and Kenny Miller, Butts just ragged them around because Kenny had said something on the pitch when Butts was telling him to do this, and he just told him where to go. Butts just threw him around. Now, I'm not saying I advocate that.
I want to see a scrap.
I'm not saying I advocate that, but what I'm saying is that's the kind of mentality. The seniors have got to grab hold of everybody and say, listen, Blakey. He's a new manager as well. We got to help him out.
The skipper is a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player, Kolka, but he's not the throwing someone around.
Do you think that's why Solskjaer initially dabbled with Hudson, sort of, he's the club captain, brought him in, but then he thought,
Yeah.
Possibly, but it is definitely is a time, we spoke about this yesterday, it's time, it's okay to say Solskjaer this, Solskjaer should do that. Like you say, the responsibilities with the players as well. The senior pros in there, the guys who've been around a bit, have got to get a grip on things and say, come on.
Your Medals, straight away.
It's your Bellamy, isn't it?
Kevin
Bellamy
Norton,
when he's
your
back.
Bellas. Bellas has got that character where he probably doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Bellas, I've played with Bellas. Bellas will do your head in. To the end, you switch off with Bellas. yeah, and you switch back on when you need to. So you switch off all week, and then Friday comes, and you switch back on, and then, yeah, we're getting into it. Because Bellas has got this thing where he wants to be there constantly, yeah? Dig, 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 dig. And
I think that's what they need now. They need a rocket.
It's okay, but it doesn't work for everybody. You have to know your players. You have to know your mates. What I would switch off to, you might say, well, I need that all week. I need someone kicking my backside all week to get me up for a Saturday, yeah?
Yeah.
Swings and roundabouts.
Steve just agreeing with that. We've got no experience in this team at this level, and this is the root cause of most of our
We did say, though, in
troubles.
January we needed to sign experience for me.
You did, yeah.
Did we say that? That was the biggest thing we were lacking.
We got Kenwyn Jones, I suppose.
Yeah, but from the back, I mean, the organisational point of view, the central, the heartbeat, the centre of midfield and the centre of defence, the goalkeeper, we got sewn up. You put, bang, someone of experience in front of him, centre half, and bang, a holding midfielder experience in front of him, the whole team looks different.
That's where I suppose someone like Hull, people would say about Hull and that have done well. Is in bringing in people with that.
Two centre backs, two centre mids, two centre forwards.
I tell you what, I'm not even joking. I looked at Ben Watson on Saturday and I thought, crikey,
why wouldn't you?
Someone like that in the engine room, governor, saying, come, get your act together, strutting around a bit. That almost exactly what
I said Palacios from Stoke. Yeah, not been playing for a long time, These are kind of players where he was at Tottenham 3-4 years ago. Kind of player, he needs a bit of TLC. And if I TLC him, he's going to be a leader of men for me.
It's a good player, very good player indeed.
Right.
Indeed. What about these comments? We won't dwell too much on the past, but just because they've popped up, it's kind of linked to everything, I suppose. Phil just saying, Ollie was appointed in January. The January window is the worst time to do any business. You can't assemble a team in January and expect instant success. He says, we'll go down due to Malky wasting £8 million on Cornelius when we needed goals. Chris saying we should have spent more wisely for 30 million quid. And finally, BB Mac just saying, why did the club feel it necessary to release that vitriolic statement about Malky's transfer dealings before the weekend? Those running the club seem intent on dragging its name through the mud.
It's
very
crazy.
sad. What did you just briefly? What did you make of that little?
Well, I just thought
that bizarre episode, really, wasn't it?
Well, like I've always said, the chief exec is the man who signs off once he's spoken to the chairman, the owner. He signs off on everything, yeah. Or the chairman or the owner do. But the chief exec is the man who basically says to the manager, yes or no. Yeah, so, like I've said on the show before, the problem is you can't blame the last regime, yeah? You can look and say, well, what we done, we relied on them to make decisions because we're new to this, yeah? Hold your hands up as a club, chairman, Mehmet, owner, Vincent Tan, Simon Lim. None of them ever been at the football club before. But
it's not being at a football club, it's fiscal sense. If you say, right, your budget for the summer is 30 million. Right, and then he comes to you, you buy that, and you're right, okay. Yeah. And then he comes, oh, I need so-and-so. And you go, well, sorry, that will take you to 35 million. So you're not happy. Sorry, you're going to have to look at somebody else.
Cheaper option. Yeah.
That's not football, is it? That's like running a company, right? That's just running a business. So
what I think they're trying to say is they're getting mixed up with the quality of player against what you spent for the player, yeah? So regardless of whether you think he's a quality player or not, that comes down to opinion. The last regime looked and said, we think we got a quality player. We looked and said, we don't think we got a quality player. The proof is in the playing.
I just think to keep blaming a manager for a bad signing. Every manager makes bad signings. And okay, I will admit, people know that I was a big fan of Malky Mackay and all the rest of it, and still rate him as a great motivator and leader of men and all the rest of it. Okay, it was a big signing. The Cornelius signing. Yeah. It was a vital one in many ways. It was big money on a strike he wanted goals. But okay, that was a mistake and all the rest of it, and it wasn't a good. But then
Fraser,
I would put
$650.
Exactly. Who was it? Who brought in Fraser Campbell for 650,000 in the January transfer window? That got the goals that helped to fire them up for a first prize. And you said it on the weekend in your column again. For all the comings and goings there, he still looks the most dangerous guy they've got. He's still our best
player.
8 goals or whatever it is. So I can't. I'm mystified with this constant hark. That's almost like somebody at Manchester United going, well, Alex Ferguson, of course he had a great record. Remember when he signed so-and-so in 1992? That cost a foot. Well, great. You make mistakes, but the club cannot go around making statements
I think what
like
the
this.
difference is because it's the first time in the Premier League and we're a smaller club, if you like, in the big scheme of things. You have to do your due diligence on the players, and you can't afford to make the big signing the mistake.
No.
Yeah, that's what killed it, really and truly, because he's someone who he's the goal scorer. The goal scorer is the main focal point of the team, and I think what people were saying is, how can you get that main focal point so wrong when there was so many others? Jermaine Defoe's just gone to America. Why don't you say to why don't you say to Tottenham, we'll take Defoe, get into Colker's ear, we'll take Defoe for 10 million off you. Tottenham go, we want 12. Okay, here's 12 million. Jermaine, we want you to be the focal point of Cardiff City's attack for the next 3 years.
It was a mistake.
There's a decision now. Do you want to go to America and play in that A-League, B-League, whatever it is? Or do you want to come and do basically kind of like what Bellas has done? Become a focal point, become a hero, a legend then at Cardiff City. Finish your career here. Maybe then go on to the coaching staff. Really sell him the city, sell him the club, sell him. To me, I just think that signing, you're going to argue about it for the rest of our days, whether that is the killer signing for the last regime or not. For me, it is what it is. You can't say one signing kills you, but because it's the main focal point, it's hard to get away from. But your club, what I'm saying is the club can't keep harping back to that. They've got to move on because it's not helping no one. You're just bringing negative press on an already very stressful, difficult situation.
Yeah, let's put in the cupboard marked bad PR.
Is this the positive bit?
Quite a full cupboard, that one, I think, isn't it?
Bad PR for Cardiff.
The couple of good ones that Mike just saying the statement was bizarre and ignored the fact that Malky Mackay had made good signings, much new people.
Well, crikey, I mean, the list is endless. You talk about Cornelius, someone will come in now, Brayford, the list of positive signings.
Well, if you look and think, he only had 12 players when he came in, and then we got promoted the season after.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would say probably 90% of the team.
He done pretty good, yeah.
He brought in.
I would love to have seen him backed in January. I think I don't know the ins and outs with the fallout between him and Vincent and all that. And if it obviously become untenable, that's that. But if I was talking hypothetically in a perfect world, if that had never happened, he'd regained the owner's support, and Mackay had kept the job without all the off-field shenanigans and been allowed to strengthen in January. I think we might not be in a better position in the league or whatever. We might or might not. But I tell you what, I think they'd be in a we were talking about philosophy and attitude, we'd be in a much stronger position when it came to that now to face the last 12 games.
This from Kerry, it's simple as this, lads, we're a soft touch now. We need to be a bit nasty.
I'd agree with that, Kerry.
Physically on the pitch.
I'd agree with that 100%.
Also rally the lads to get into people's faces. I watch the game on one of those dodgy internet streams as we do now and again on the weekend.
I can't condone that.
I'll tell you another player we could go for.
Somebody call the police.
Sorry, go on. I'll tell you another player we could have gone for, I think. Catamol.
Somebody's just actually said Catamol, Blakey, Bluebird John has said that.
Yeah, I think Sunderland would accept that he'd go. But that's the kind of experienced leader. Okay, you take your chances and say, well, he might get sent off, but that's the kind of man you need. A couple of them, 3 or 4 of them. I don't think we would have gone down. Even with January, I think if you sign 3 or 4 experienced Premiership players, because that's all Pulis has done, basically, gone and nicked other Premiership teams' experienced players. Same with Hull. Premiership absolutely. Experienced players. You take a massive risk when you're signing from outside of this league. You do. Championship, you get away with it. Premiership, different kettle of fish.
I fear the gambles may not pay off. May not. I don't know. I mean, let's not be too. They're still in a good enough.
What I was going to say was the commentator on the footage I was watching described Cardiff as, of course, Cardiff, a team not renowned for their pressing game. Was a comment, and I just thought, when did that happen? Because that's what they were renowned for. Wasn't it? Up until what about this then? From Bring Back Blue, who suggests in his thing, easy to be wise in hindsight. We now have to either accept that we're going down and plan for that, or find some way of staying up. Should we do a Fulham sack the manager and bring someone else in to try and keep us up.
I never agree with that. I always say,
Bizarre
look, for me, I think then...
Bizarre at Fulham, but most people would say they probably got a better chance of staying up now than they did a week ago.
Well, you said the glory of hindsight. If Fulham stay up now, it's going to look like an absolute work, moment of genius by whoever decided to do it.
The problem for me is, I always say, when this is how clubs end up like, for me, like a Sheffield United or a Portsmouth or a Leeds United. It's never just the team who's poor. Right, so the team is selected by the manager. The players are bought by the manager. The manager is given the go-ahead by the chief exec. The chief exec is given the yes by the chairman and the owner, and so on and so forth. So when you find a club of, say, Sheffield United stature ending up all the way down there, to me, that's not a bad team. That's a badly run club. Yeah, so it starts at the top. So when you think to yourself, all of a sudden, now I'm the Fulham chairman, owner, whatever, I've just stepped into football, never been in football in my life, never played it, no idea how it works. So, I step in, and all of a sudden then, a week, 2 weeks later, I'm releasing a statement saying, I don't think that Rennie is quite, what we were looking for, and blah, blah, blah. Yet you employed him 2 weeks earlier. So it just goes to prove, then, maybe you should have taken, or maybe they did, but maybe you should take the advice of maybe people who do know and do have an idea. There's no guarantees that you're going to stay in the league. That's number one. And there's no guarantees you could bring in Sir Alex Ferguson that you won't stay in the league. It doesn't matter. There's no guarantees. But what you do, I get a better chance with Harry Redknapp, Tony Pulis, than I would with someone who's never managed you, doesn't know diddly squat about this league. You're giving this, you try and lean towards percentages, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of bringing in a manager that himself knows nothing on the managerial side of the Premier League makes it
so what are we
all
saying
that more difficult. I'm not saying fine. No, I mean, Solskjaer's in position. He's brought in his people now.
Ironically, some rumours that Mullerstein could join him at Cardiff.
I saw those. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about those.
Obviously, they know each other from Man United.
See, I don't think that'd be a bad thing. I just think experience. A good coach, isn't he? Yeah, well, one thing you can say is we do need the Titan. And one thing you mentioned pressing just a minute ago. One thing I'll say, if anyone was watching the game Saturday, just if you've got it recorded or anything, just watch, right? When the last 10 minutes, because where Wigan's goal comes from, their manager says to him, start pressing, sets it up, tells them, right, start pressing. Because they're actually waiting for this entourage of waves of attack, which don't come for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then they say, right, I tell you what, and he says to him, press, and you see the players pressing. They end up pressing us high, and they get a free kick, nick the ball, and get a free kick up high. That's where the Watson goal comes from.
Indeed.
Yeah. What we can't do at the moment, we said a couple of weeks ago, is press. We're not pressing. You can't say just press. That's what people think. You shout press, and it means right. We press. Well, if you and you press and I don't. Players are good enough, just pass to him, and then to my man, which I've not covered, and then they're out. That means you're out of position now. So you press in a way of winning back the ball. If not the first point, then at the second point. If not the second point, then at the third point. If not the third point, then the fourth point. And if they get through that, then plan B, right, what happens to the back four and the midfield holding man? What do you do? If it's on the right-hand side, what do our right back do? Do you sit or do you go into the hole? No, you sit. You let the midfielder come across, gives the other midfielder time to get back and come across. The left back maybe comes across further, and you leave the winger spear on the fast. So this all
comes down to what we've said from the very top of the show, which was a lack of focus, a lack, as Blakey says in his comment, a lack of understanding, a difficulty in seeing what Solskjaer is trying to achieve. Exactly. And we can't see it, and you get the distinct impression the players themselves out there are not sure of their roles themselves, and that is
especially like you just said,
thing of all.
When we were such a good pressing team.
Yeah, indeed. Let's talk about some of the signings, because there's lots of comments on them. We'll try and be maybe brief on each one. We'll come on to the Norwegians, who there's been very mixed reviews about shortly. 3 comments here from
Go on, Touch, you take
our viewers on starting with Wilfried Zaha. So Jamie saying, I wish we'd got Ince instead of Zaha. Zaha has been very much a disappointment so far. Darren says, why did we sign Zaha? He's useless. Zaha is a liability that will cost us our place in the Premier League. There's a good reason why Moyes doesn't want him. A 3-year-old would have more awareness on a football pitch, he says. I mean, there was flashes of goodness.
He's quite obviously a really talented guy. There's some lovely touches. It's almost the exact opposite of what Blakey and we've been calling for just now. Premier League experience, old heads, you know, maturity. Zaha is like the absolute opposite of that. He's a young, talented, rough diamond, trying to learn the game. You know, I totally agree that there's times you look at him, you're thinking, for goodness sake, just do something simple. Lay it off to someone, make a run. I think, you know, he's obviously a highly talented guy. Is he the sort of guy you want for a relegation fight? Nope. Somebody said it to me on the weekend, and I totally agree with it. I tell you what, Zaha is really shining a really good side. A side bringing with confidence that was like battering people. He'd be in there, he'd be like a side fighting for their lives.
If you've got two midfielders who are experienced, solid, good players who can cover, yeah, because what I will notice, listen, the boy's a young kid, right? But he's in there. So if you're in there, you've got to do the job. And what I noticed about Zaha was, I played left wing for Cardiff City for many a moon, with young Damon Searle behind me. And what I can say is, regardless whether people used to say, he's lazy, or he's laid back, or he's got a bit of a strut, I can honestly say I can't remember any winger and fullback doing me and Damon down our side, ever. Whether, no matter what the opposition, in our league or above, I can't ever remember thinking, me and Damon coming off going, we just got absolutely tortured by them two. Never. But I've seen it a couple of times. And Wilf doesn't work hard enough in defence, and that's why he's out in Man United. There was a situation, I think it might have been Saturday, first half, where the right back or the right winger, he was chasing him from within their half, and he was probably 5-10 yards behind. The boys kept running, didn't have the ball, boys kept running, and Wilf has given up and stopped about 10 yards inside our half, and the winger actually played the ball inside to the right back, and he went into the box. I think he got blocked for a corner. But Wilf had given up, and I'm saying that's that point where you know your lungs are screaming, but that's that point where you know I've just got to stop whatever he's doing, and then I'll get my rest. No matter what, I've just got to stop. And he didn't, he gave up. Now to me, if I'm the manager, he'd probably come out without a head second half because I would have eaten it. Yeah? That is the difference. So his touches, sometimes you think, wow, how's he done that?
I love watching that, yeah.
And then other times you think, just do it easy. But he's a maverick, that's what you get. What I'm saying is, I disagree with Tux. I think if you get him in the right position and get him so he part and parcel of this organised structure, you're going to have time to do all the wonderful goodness, yeah? But start making better decisions. You're not always going to make the right decisions. Just start making better decisions. Increase your ratios of ball retention, you know, setting up the pass, you know, strikes on goal. Increase those ratios bit by bit. No, let's not forget you haven't played all season. So bit by bit, I would say 3 or 4 or 5 games in, you should have what you want from him. He should be doing what you want him to do. But again, to me, you mentioned Tom Ince. If that was Paul Ince playing central midfield, trust me, he'd either be doing the job or he wouldn't be playing because he would go off in the dressing room and the manager would have no choice. He'd have to say to him, do the job, or I can't justify your position anymore.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, then on to the Norwegians. In a couple of sentences, so we'll go through.
In other words, keep it short.
Trying to shut us up.
Keep it short. We'll leave the best till last, maybe. We'll leave the best till last. So
we're leaving Berger.
Well, let's start with Berger. Maybe a bit unfair to start passing sweeping judgments. I mean,
no, I'm not. No, I wouldn't. No, not
the striker, yeah.
Not earth-shattering.
Started on the weekend.
A couple of little touches.
Yeah, he did have a little.
Little. But didn't look.
Don't think he gave you 20 goals.
No.
Don't think he gave you 10 goals. Between
You
now and
didn't
the
look at
season.
him and think, oh, finally, hang on, right, let's get this guy up front now for the running. He's gonna
You're still thinking yourself, thank God we got Fraser.
Yeah. Fraser Campbell remains.
Yeah, I think Fraser's our #1 striker. I mean, Kenwyne's come in. I just don't think defenders are as fearful of Kenwyne as they are of Fraser. Pace, mate. Pace kills defenders. They hate it. And he works like a Trojan.
Yeah. Okay. Ikram, the one who's we've seen the most of Magnus Ikram.
In my match report, I looked a little. It just looks a bit
holding
ordinary.
midfielder.
Yeah.
My honest opinion of Ikram is he needs to do more if he wants to play in that position. Right, you're playing in a right. Let me just say about Medal. Medal holds in the position, plays a lot of sideward passes, but then all of a sudden he'll knock that 40, 50-yard pass into space for Catherine or wherever. If you watch Ikram's game, doesn't penetrate anybody. He gets it, and especially Saturday, I specifically watched him for about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
got it, and gave it easy. Now I'm saying, okay, you clean up, you sweep up, you give it easy, but you're in the quarterback position because what's in front of you is not a playmaker. So you're obviously been put in there because you can't. For a start, we had 2 holding midfielders, which I didn't get. Yeah, so you got 2 holding midfielders. One of them's got to take the responsibility of opening the pass up, threading those balls through. Everything was there, maybe a little one there, a little one there. To me, just average performance, average all round. I wouldn't say, he's a poor player. I wouldn't say he's a brilliant player. I would just say
he's a player.
Just an average player.
Indeed,
yeah.
Indeed. Okay, then. And what about Daly? I mean, or Daly, I think we're now pronouncing
Is it Daly?
As in Arthur.
As in Arthur.
Arthur.
Daly, Justin here saying Daly simply has to start against Hull. Lots of people very impressed with his performance.
Yeah.
Again, no, I'd say to people...
You're not the massive Daly fan, are you?
I'd say again, I watched the game for 90 minutes, yeah, and in 90 minutes, again, all these little passes, left, right, in the, I think it was the 76th minute, he played a little ball through for Zaha, 1 penetrative pass. And in 80 minutes, he played a little 1-2 and got a shot off, which just went over the bar to keep it tipped over the bar.
I remember it, yeah.
For a player in that position, need more.
So incredibly raw again,
need
though,
more.
Isn't he? So, I mean, almost like Zaha.
But you can't say, what we can't say is, right, if you're good enough to be in there, we can't then say, oh yeah, but he's not really, you've got to give him,
he needs more time.
He can't grow on the job. We need people to provide the strikers and the wide. We need, assists. And to me, good little player, good technical little player, fine. But I'm looking at, okay, what are you bringing to the table over and above just, keeping the ball then? Because you're that one matter, you're that game breaker, you're that person that makes the difference for the team. Yeah? So for me, he played well, but I'd like to see a lot more of the ball splitting passes. And try it. If it don't come off, it don't come off. But that was my point with Ekram. He wasn't trying it. He didn't try and knock a 60-yard ball. I think he gave it away a couple of times. Fans got him a bit, and then all of a sudden it was like, I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to play safe. You can't listen. You got to say, listen. If the fans boo me 5 times, if I put one through on a plate and he scores, they'll cheer me. No problem. You can't be affected by the crowd.
It comes back to lack of experience and not taking it the game by the scruff of the neck, as it were. Quite a lot of people asking about Gary Medel, who obviously injured several weeks.
Hamstring tear.
Obviously a worry. How can we survive relegation without Medel, says Darren. A few people asking, how will we fare? We're doomed having lost Medel. I mean, beyond him, there isn't really. I mean, I suppose Gunnarsson is the only player who can play that role. Yeah. Really, are you
may have to
largely
swap things around.
Well, we said earlier about a team, Tux.
We
were talking about a team. And
what's your team for Hull without Medel?
Well,
there's no
Blakey, Blakey in a scientific fashion is.
I would go for, if Much is fit, I would ask him to
do hope much is fit.
sit with Gunnarsson. Yeah, not all the time. Gunnarsson's your main sitter, but much, yeah, you're going to link the play between. I'd put, well, Zaha on one side, Noon on the other side, and then I put the little Daly or Daly.
You give him
I'd give him an opportunity in behind Campbell. Some might say Jones, but I'd go with Campbell.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're playing that number 10 person, he 9 times out of 10 releases balls.
You need someone with pace.
Well, then you need someone with pace to run onto it. You know what I mean? You're not playing off a brick wall. You know what I mean? So I would go with Much and Gunnarsson because I don't think we've got any other choices, to be honest with you. And like it seemed like a couple of weeks ago, we seemed to have so many midfielders, didn't we? And then
I think Gunnarsson's a good shout.
Noon on the other side, I have McNaughton, who that's kind of like come back to bite me on the backside because I was like, you know, no, but for what we've got, I think he's probably the best fullback we've got. McNaughton at left back and Theo at right back, Kolka, and listen, it's a toss of a coin for me.
I'd say I'd go for Turner myself, just because they play together more often.
I would, but then I'd say, well, if you brought the new lad in, you've got to play him.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So, you know,
I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't go bonkers.
You've got to try and get
then
that partnership settled in the next 2 games. You haven't got 5 or 6 games to get it settled. It's got to, so that takes extra work on the training ground. That means, you know, you're doing double sessions. You hate it. You come in, you get off, you have a bit of lunch, chill out for an hour, and then you're going back out at 2:30 until 4.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just trying to get a pattern. So, to me, you probably have to go with the new lad because he's just been bought. But yeah, McNaughton, Theo, Kolka, the new lad, Much, Gunnarsson, Zaha, Noon, Daly or Daly in behind, and then Campbell up front. And when Bellas is fit, I would take Zaha out and I'd put Bellamy in.
Obviously Bellamy,
that'd be it for me.
This is the 3rd of his games.
He'll miss the whole game. That's it then after the suspension's up. Yeah.
Back after that. Yeah.
And then I would try and start that team as often as possible. The only thing that'd stop me starting that team for the next 10 games would be injuries.
Injuries, suspension.
Or severe fatigue. You know.
Yeah.
If Noon's absolutely, you know, on his heels sort of thing, then you should say, okay, come out, give you a rest, put Zaha.
I mean, and the game itself this weekend, obviously another huge one against Hull.
9-pointer, did we call it?
15-pointer.
I know I tried to build it up a bit last week, but I mean, it's even more the case this week, isn't it? And people are saying, you know, Carl sums it up quite nicely. Hull City on Saturday, draw or lose, and that's the end for us.
I just think that's probably true, but more than that, it's about them showing something, some spirit, some unity, some fight. You know, they need the result, yeah, but more than that, I think if they look, I know it was a cup game and he made changes because it's a cup or you do whatever, but what will be interesting is if you, at the end of that game, if they look like they did against Wigan, even if they've won it almost, I think there'll still be doubts hanging over there. They've got to put in a battling performance, and Solskjaer finally looking like he knows what he's doing, implementing his plan. If that's there, if you come away from it then and say, well, he really had a go, crikey, come on, that'll be the big step forward. The performance will be the big step forward. I know the points are vital, but right now they need to gel, they need to come together, and they need to sort of give Hull a really good going over.
See,
if Hull are going to win it, Hull have to play absolutely at their skins and battle for their lives. And you know, and if Cardiff come away from that, they'd be like, well, we did our best.
This was my point about being in the cups and all that. So you had Newcastle, Bolton, and Wigan, 3 cup games recently.
Yes,
since Ollie's taken over.
Yes.
Now, those are 3 games for me where you say, okay, win, lose or draw doesn't matter. Yeah, what matters is the performance and me getting my settled team. In between that, add 2, maybe 3 Premiership games. That's 6 games. Yeah, and 3 of them, thankfully, no 3 points. We're relying on it. So basically, that was my time. That's given me time, what we didn't have. My only focus is Premier League survival, right? I can say what I want publicly. Yeah, we want to win this game, blah, blah, blah. But I know, right, Newcastle, whoever was in the league, Bolton, whoever was in the league, and then I know I am trying to play my 11 week in, week out, week in, week out. And the only thing that stopped me, like I said, is severe fatigue or injury. And then I'm, right, I should be, because I think this is the stage now where I was expecting us to start going, right, we've come through our one step back, and now we're going to see listen, we're not going to go from 1 to 10, but we're going to go from 1 to 2, and 2 to 4, and 4 to 6. You know, the progression is going to be seen, and it's going to be a bit
that's what you want.
It has to be.
That's the point I'm making, is against Hull, the result's important, but almost the performance still. Showing, right, they're ready.
This will be Solskjaer's 10th match in charge this weekend.
And that's, you know, I mean, that's...
And that's the point.
That's also over a quarter of the season.
I think most people now are looking and thinking what we're saying is that, you know, we don't seem to have a settled 11. And I think that's where the man... you know, I think he's caught between a rock and a hard place. I really do. I think he's, in one sense, thinking, I can't play him again because I don't rely on him, or I can't trust him. He didn't do what I needed him to do. But then, if I leave him in, people are going to go question why I'm... So, rather, I think he should just shut everything out and just say, right, this is my plan. If it works, great. If it don't, then I'll take the flak. That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He was brought in to impose himself, his style, his thing. It's time that he did that, and if it works, brilliant. If not, and they go down firing on all cylinders.
Because it's hard to change a team who's defensive-minded into an attack-minded team. That's going to be a major, major thing. You're not going to turn that round in the case of 10 games. Yeah, but you can start, now we should be starting to see the progression. The problem is now, we haven't picked an 11, which you think, right, that's the back four, that's the midfield, and if they're fit and well, they're going to play. We kind of don't know what the next team's going to be. And that is where I would say Ole has a problem. And over the next 10, because what you could do is 10 becomes 12, 12 becomes 14, 14 becomes 18, and you're still not picked and found your best 11 or your favoured 11. So games are chalking off, and you're still experimenting.
The sure sign off is what I mean, from a purely personal point of view, we do a thing, you know, in the Echo we have a possible Cardiff side ahead of a weekend, and you it's an educated guess mostly, to be honest. You know, you haven't got much insight thing on it. And under Mackay, you'd be like dum 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 dum. You'd be naming the side, and you'd be virtually spot on unless someone had picked something up. You can't do it for Solskjaer right now. You could literally just guess it, you know, like, well, maybe Darley will start, I don't know, maybe. Or do you think he'll go with John? And that is a sure sign. It is so unpredictable and changing all the time. And as we've said all along today, the theme of the whole show, he needs to pick a side and stick with it.
Yeah.
Well, a side that he believes, there's going to be, like you said, there's going to be people he's going to have doubts about. He's got to put those aside. He's not going to think, everyone in here I think is brilliant, that's it. He's going to have to say, right, I'm putting Ben Turner in, I'm not 100% sure about him, but he's the man, that's it. There's got to be firm decisions made.
What you do as a manager at that point is then alter you don't change your philosophy, you alter your philosophy temporarily. Because I haven't got what I want, but I got no choice. I'm not going to play with 10 men, so I have to play what I've got. So because this player doesn't fit into how I want to play, then we just have to go with it for the time being, yeah? And you alter your philosophy to say, maybe then we're not going to play out for the back so much. Yeah? You don't roll it to someone who you know can't play. You know what I mean? You say, right, well, okay, I like to play out from the back, but I haven't got the players to do it, so we've got no choice, but we're going to have to kick it. Everyone can say, oh yeah, but we like to look good and all that. No. You're just going to have to boot it from the goalkeeper.
Time for looking good.
Right, it's only survival.
Do you want to look good in the Championship? You know, let's be, first of all, let's be tough to break down first.
Yeah.
And then anything on top of that then. But, you know, as for, you know, let's do relegation in style, well...
At the moment, like I said, time is our biggest enemy.
It is.
And we need to get that settled, I'd say 15, 16. Start 11 if you can. You need to get that settled down as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Okay then. Gareth just saying, can't we ever say anything positive about the team on this show? Always seems to be negative.
Well, if you keep losing,
I agree with that. I think it should be positive, man. I think we should.
Ben's saying it's always negative because that's Cardiff City.
Well, we're trying to give
always
positive.
A mess going on.
We're trying to give a positive, analytical view of how things can improve. Then
let's look at. We could be sitting here next week, and Cardiff could be out of the bottom 3. That's positive.
Yeah.
That would put a positive slant on it. I know I said earlier it's all about performance, but you know, all right, I'd actually take them playing a bit rubbish and winning 1-0. Well, you know, and that would then they'd be out of the bottom 3. That alters your mindset then. You know then if the season finishes then you're safe. So you know there are positives. They're not in a hope. They're not adrift.
No, as somebody's just pointed out, you're still 36 points left to play for, which is a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot, and particularly when you're only 2 points in the relegation zone. That's nothing. You know, somebody has a bad weekend.
We could win 3 games. We could, psychologically, it'd do so much damage to your opposition as well. But what I'm saying is, looking at us right now, you can only analyse yourself, can't you? First and foremost, you can't analyse Norwich, Fulham, and say what they might or might not do, because you win Saturday, and all of a sudden, or Tuesday, Saturday. And all of a sudden you go in thinking, oh, that's us at the bottom. And then all of a sudden Norwich have won, so-and-so have won, so-and-so. That's how it tends to go. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. I don't know why, but it tends to go like that.
Absolutely. All right then, predictions time. The Glasgow Bluebirds saying, can you two predict losses this week? Because
are we that bad? Have people noticed that our predictions are rubbish?
Positive predictions don't seem to be working out too well for Cardiff at the minute. Although that's and quite a few people here predicting 3-0 Hull. Is one from Carl.
Is it?
2-0 Hull as well.
Are these sort of negative predictions on purpose, or are these serious predictions?
I don't know. I think people will try anything really these days. I mean, looking at it though, analytically as you do.
So
you're not feeling it. Not feeling it.
Not feeling the love, baby.
Like I said, I just think out of the 2 teams, okay, look at it. I always try to look at it as a complete neutral. I always go for Cardiff because that's the bias in me. But as a complete
looking at it as a completely neutral, biased person.
But looking at it as a neutral and saying the 2 teams, the only advantage Cardiff got is that you're at home. So that's got to be, you've got to take that, fans, players, you've got to take that and you really got to make some of it. You've got to start on fire, start high pressing, don't give them any time, don't let them settle, don't let them get into any sort of routine. Take the momentum first in the game. Yes, after 20 minutes, it tends to swing for 10, 15 minutes back to the opposition. And then what tends to happen, the team who starts strongest finishes strongest. Don't know why, but that's the general pattern of the game.
Didn't happen against Villa.
No, but I'm going to go for...
Don't want to be negative.
No, I'm going to go for... Because I think Hull will score. I think they got the capability to score. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. If you want asking me to predict the actual result, I would say, looking at the 2 teams, 1-1 draw. The bias side of me says
5-0.
2-0 Cardiff.
5-0 Cardiff. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Cardiff.
Okay.
Like the Villa game, good. It's gone under the radar a bit. That first half against Villa, they were really unlucky not to be 1 or 2 up there.
But like you say,
they got battered second half.
Yeah, okay, second half, but Marshall was on fire again. They
have to ride their luck. That's
why you think he's going to be rubbish this week.
What I'm saying is, if your keeper's making worldy saves, that tells you that you're conceding a lot of opportunities.
Oh, well, he's like the first keeper to make 100 saves this season.
Right, so you need to cut down the amount of opportunities on your goal.
Hey, I was being positive. Don't talk me down from it. I was ending up 1-0 Cardiff, goal coming in the first after a good start, and then Hull coming on, but Cardiff not as bad as they were against Villa, but having to defend
got to start well, because we haven't
first
started
half
well.
goal.
Got to start.
We started well against Villa. We started really well against Villa. You know, we caused them a lot of problems. You know, and you know what? They hit the post. They hit the post and the bar within the space of 60 seconds at one point. I mean, what more can you do apart from
UB40, innit?
What's UB40 mean?
Well, started well, 1 in 10. 1 in 10, you don't remember that?
Do you know Doley doesn't?
Oh,
you mentioned his music. Doley was just a twinkle in his parents' eye when UB40 were operating. You can't. He doesn't even know Margaret Thatcher was the 1 in 10. And I'll tell you later. That Frankie reference last week had him confused. He didn't. He was like, "Who the hell is that?" He bamboozled. 1-0 Cardiff. Fraser Campbell first half, and then a shutout in the second half.
Okay.
Out of the bottom 3 for next week's Bootroom, and a much more positive outlook.
Indeed. Blue Jays saying Cardiff will win 2-1. DJ Evans, Cardiff City 2, Hull 0. So that's a bit of positivity for you.
That's good.
And Mike in Devon, just to sign off, says, I wouldn't be surprised if we fail to gain a single point between now and the end of the season. How's that for negative?
That's about as negative as it can get.
Pretty good, pretty negative, yeah.
Wow.
Pretty negative. Oh, well,
He's out negafied even us. If that's a word. I don't think it is. It is now.
We'll stop you using it, I'm sure. All right, chaps, good stuff. As always, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your comments and your questions. As always, we'll be blogging live from the match, 3 o'clock kickoff Saturday.
3 p.m.
3
Be there or be square.
Absolutely. And we'll be back again next Monday here on Blakey's Bootroom. See you then.